Okay, so the colors I have here, again, are phthalo blue. It doesn't matter if it's green or red shade, yellow ochre, and ivory black. Any black will do, and white. So this is for the background. So I'm going to take phthalo blue, put some yellow ochre in it, enough color for me. Now, no, I can paint just like that, you know, this color, but I think without adding white. But I think because I'm going to put black in it to make it more gray, I might need a bit of white. So I'm going to spread this color as fast as I can, kind of, in one area. And I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm going to take, that's why I'm using a round brush. Now I take a touch of white, put it in that same mixture I'm using. And I'm going to come here because my color in the center in here, the colors I was spreading is still wet. So I can easily put up a very soft highlight in here. Actually, I might use my wider brush. Because I can see in the reference there is a light, more of a light behind the flower in the center. There's more of a light, and then it becomes darker. The further away we go, it becomes darker. So this spreading of the color without white first and keeping it wet helps blending the highlights in. When I add the white, it will help me blend those highlights. And I added just a bit of white, not much. This is going to dry darker, so I'm going to wait and see how it goes. And then I'll adjust. So I'm going to imagine there's a circle in the center, and I'm going to try to paint around that circle.
you're doing a darker blue in that circle.
Pardon?
That's a darker blue?
Uh,
It
sorry,
looks, it looks really, really dark.
ah, okay, on yours it looks dark, or do you mean on mine as well?
Yeah, is that, have you added more black or blue to that? Or
I am adding a touch of black, yes, to my color, and sometimes what I'm doing is that I'm picking up a bit of white as well, because what happens is we are working on black gesso, so any color you put on that black gesso, it's going to turn even darker. So we wait for it to, I usually wait for it to dry and I adjust the color. So if I need to add more white at that point, I'll add more white to adjust the color. But I try to wait for it to dry because that's when you know if it needs to be adjusted or no. This is acrylics. It's usually, it dries darker. And when it's on a black gesso, it dries even, darker than it's supposed to. Because the whatever you're using as as a support, as a wash on your canvas will affect the colors. So kind of like this right now.
I'm having trouble doing the lighter shade to make it blend in, and not be.
So at this point, I have my nice highlight all around. And what I'm going to do is not darken, paint the edge, the rest of the paint, the rest of the canvas. So I'm using more black and I'm going to come here. Just to get rid of the black gesso. I'm going to go around the edges. And that's why it's easier to paint the background first, because you don't have to worry about going over the main subject that we're painting with colors, because the color of the flower is going to be over the over the background, not the other way around.
Now, when you went all around with the darker blue,
Hmm.
all the way around all the flowers, because it looks like to the left, it's more of the lighter shade, like sort of the blending.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really, um, as long as you have some highlight in the center.
Okay.
It doesn't matter how far in you go around. It just, the whole idea is to get rid of the black gesso that we have, and put paint there, dark paint, and keep just around that flower more of the, have that halo or that light somewhere around the flower. But it doesn't have to be at a specific, like, limits. As long as you have it here, that's fine. It's good. It's good enough. So I'm not really worried how far in I'm going around on both sides with my dark blue, almost black blue. I just want to make sure that I have a nice flow of color and cover the black gesso. That's my main target, just to get rid of the black gesso. All right. Let's, whoops. It will dry darker and it will dry flat, so it will be perfect. All right, so I have alizarin crimson and ultramarine violet and some white. Round brush, dip my brush in water. I'm mixing alizarin and ultramarine violet for my first layer. Now that might be a bit too dark, it is. I'm gonna add a bit of white. So you see that in the reference, you see a bit more purple at the bottom. Now, you see how soft the edge is? I keep it soft, not a harsh edge in there. So using round brush helps. I'm going to darken a bit add a bit more ultramarine violet and come here.
Sorry, Lael, there was white in there too, you said, right?
In,
In that mix of color?
yes, yes.
Yes, okay.
There's a touch of white in here.
Is that Algerian crimson?
Yes, alizarin crimson, but it does have a bit of white in it. And now I'm adding a touch of uh, ultramarine violet. Okay. So mostly what I'm doing right now is I'm putting the dark colors before I start highlighting. So now I'm using ultramarine violet, alizarin crimson, and a touch of white. When I say touch, that means like I'm pushing my brush into that color without not picking white and putting it in there. I really, really use white carefully. Now, halfway, this petal here, I'm going to darken. So I'm going to pick up some ultramarine violet, alizarin crimson, and halfway darken this. It'll be easy because it'll be easy to blend the dark and light because both colors are wet. Now, all of these colors will have to be adjusted after when it's dry. But for now, it's good. Now, I'm going to go into the inside. Again, alizarin crimson, ultramarine violet, touch of white. Wow, that's too much. Okay. I'll come here. ultramarine violet helps me darken my colors, but keeps the color clean. Very, very soft edge. That's what I'm trying to do because I know I have to blend later on. I'm going to go back to this and blend the light with the dark. And if it's dry and I don't have a soft edge, I'm going to run into problems. So now I'm going to highlight this area here. So I'm going to take alizarin crimson, wet my brush, white. Now alizarin crimson is not going to give you that same color that you see, the fuchsia color in there. This is where magenta comes in. If you want, you could add a bit of magenta in there.
Was that just alizarin crimson and white layout?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'm getting to this area where I need to blend my colors. So I'm going to wipe my brush. I'm going to come here. So I'm removed most of that paint. I'm going to go in and whatever left over on my brush, I'm going to try to blend with this. Let it dry because I'm going to go one more layer over this because I have some kind of areas here that needs to be done. Now I'm going to go to this one here and I can see this has a nice kind of purple, light purple and pink. Honestly, I'm just using exactly the colors I see. I'm going to take some purple, which is ultramarine violet, and a bit of white. Come here. It's going to dry darker, okay? I'm going to switch now to alizarin crimson, touch of white in it. Again, clean my brush. Blend. There. So now this is drying already. I can see that this value is close to this value right there. So what I'm going to do is highlight this a bit after. But before I do this, I'm going to finish working on the rest of the flower. So I'm going to take white and purple. Mix it very well because I don't want the white, I don't want to have streaks of white in there. In my brush. Needs a bit of water. It's drying. My brush is drying. So I'd rather start, even if it's a strong highlight, I'd rather start with a dark, darker than what I see, because I can highlight after. It dries darker, it gives me a good idea of the value, and then I can take it from there. Now, I'm going to shift. It's the same idea, white. I'm trying to wet my color a bit, my brush. White and alizarin crimson. Come here. This is going to be the hard, very hard to achieve. It's the white or lighter color of the petal that is behind the other ones. This big one here is darker, closer to the edge or closer to the center, and it becomes lighter edge. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a bit of white now. Okay, pushed my darks a bit too far in. So I'm going to take a bit of ultramarine violet in here and push it out. And you see when the paint is wet, it's easy. It's really easy to blend. Okay. All right. Let's go back again to dark, kind of purple. Lots of white now. With the ultramarine violet. Okay, need to again make my color watery a bit. Come over here. Now I have a edge that's really sharp. Wipe my brush and try to blend. All right. This one here coming out, this petal here, to me, it looks like it needs a bit of black in there. With my, it's gray. It's not that strong of a highlight. But instead of putting black or using black, what I'm going to do is make sure that my color, which is white and ultramarine violet and a bit of touch of alizarin crimson, has more water. Because what happens is, if your color is a bit transparent, the black underneath will gray your color, because you could see it through, because your color is not opaque. Whatever you're putting there is not opaque. So you will see when the black shows through, the gesso black shows through, it will gray your color. What's happening in here with this? Oh, I see. Okay. A bit of
For the petals that you're doing kind of a white color, what are you mixing together?
for where the white color.
The right hand white part of the petal, the right hand side. What color? Yes, that.
Oh, that's ultramarine violet.
Yes.
With white.
Yes.
And a very small touch amount of alizarin crimson. But the color is not thick, so that's why you see that gray in here, the grayish color, kind of gray, dark. That's because my color is not thick. So I added white. I added water. Sorry, I added water to my color. It made it a bit more transparent, so I can see the black showing through. It will gray your color instead of adding black, ivory black. I'm going to stop for now, so you know, catch up.